Hello, my name is Michael DiNato, and today I'm going to read you my first accepted short story in publication from Kyanite Press. It's called The Last Race of the Animals, based on a fairy tale. To tell a tale. Princess Alessana Evernight ran from the practice room down the stone hallways of Castle Evernight with a smile on her tired face. She was 10 winters old, and it was time for bed. Now, most kids at this age would be fighting bedtime, but this was a special night. This night was when her mother would read her a bedtime story. This was special mainly because her mother, the Queen, was also a bard and a master storyteller. When she told a story, it almost pulled you in so that you felt like you were there. Princess Alessana loved stories of knights and fairies, and as she turned the corner to her room, she giggled and started skipping. Excited as usual, I see, Marissa said as she came down the opposite hall and saw her daughter. 10 years. Who would have ever thought that they would have a precious little girl all those years ago? Come on, Mother, I want to hear what you have for me tonight. Alessana jumped into bed and pulled the covers up, silently saying her prayer to Davila, God of Protection. I'm ready. Marissa laughed and dragged over a chair, sitting down and taking her lute from its case. She tuned it quickly. Tonight, dear daughter, I will tell you the tale of the strangest race in the history of fairies. Fairies aren't real, Mother, I know that, Alessana said plainly, desiring a story with intrigue and action for once. I'm 10 now, don't I deserve grown-up stories? Oh, you want a grown-up story? One with action and adventure? The Queen laughed and finished tuning her instrument, knowing exactly what her rambunctious daughter wanted. She had been training with the High General for a year now, and had heard of the exciting stories of fighting. She thought about the stories she could tell, and settled on one that might instill a lesson on the young princess. Very well, I will tell you the dark tale of the Forest of the Knobs. The one south of us, Mother? The princess asked. She had heard that no one went into that dark place anymore, unless they absolutely needed to. It was rumored to be filled with the spirits of angry animals and vengeful souls. Not that she believed those stories either. Yes, I will tell you how it got its name all those centuries ago, Marissa started. She played and drifted into that place she went when she wanted to bring others into her stories. Bards knew all the old tales and were tasked to preserve them. They were handed down from bard to bard, and she learned most of hers from the most famous one of them all, Karsus. It begins with a glorious summer day. Centuries ago, all over Lithanol, the fairies used their magic and made animals talk. Unfortunately, when the fairies stepped sideways into the moon and left this world, they left behind their talking friends. The humans that had been warring with the elves didn't know about their ability to talk, and so hunted them for food and clothes just the same as regular animals. In time, the last of the talking animals fled to the southern part of the forest to escape the humans and lived in peace for many years, hiding and foraging quietly. It was then that the argument started. Two factions arose among the animals, one that wanted to try and follow the fairies to wherever they went, and one that wanted to stay safe in their forest and hide forever. Gilliam Shelton was a tortoise with a sharp eye and a very thorough mind. He stood for safety and security in the forest, and was adamant about keeping a low profile. He had watched the human hunters around the edges of their hidden area of the forest and spied on them more times than anyone knew. Since he was slow and quiet, they never noticed him lying in the bushes, and you would be surprised that one could hear when you think no one's listening. Peterin Harefoot was a hare, and as such had not only fast feet, but a quick wit as well. He wanted to strike out and discover a new place, a place that he was sure the fairies that made them had gone. His fur was a very light brown, and his dark eyes darted back and forth as he talked. Never one to sit still for very long, he often ran in circles waiting for the others to finish their sentences. Every time he saw Gilliam, he ridiculed the tortoise about how slow he was, and how he must think slowly as well. He insulted him over and over, and even some of the other animals started in after a while. It was during one such spectacle, early in the fall, that Gilliam had had enough. Let's settle this once and for all, Peterin. I will race you, anywhere, anytime, and if I win, Then we will stay here, and you will leave the forest by yourself, banished to wander the lands of the humans. If you win, then I will help you plan a route to find the fairies. A race? Against you. Surely you're kidding, Gillian. A slowpoke like yourself against a speedster like myself? Peter was grinning. He had finally pushed the shell back into a corner. And now he had his victory in his sights. Name the time and the place, good sir, and I will leave you in my dust. Gilliam shook his head back and forth, taking quite a while to do this, then looked the hare right in the eyes. We will race from here across the human lands and back, starting tomorrow morning at dawn. He saw the watching animals all cheer at the impending spectacle and knew that they would be there when the sun rose. I accepted you, Gilliam, though I feel bad that you will be out there still racing when I'm already back here packing for you. Peter was already thinking about what he could bring and where they could go. He was so confident that he gathered a group to throw a congratulations party that very night. He drank and ate his fill and staggered around bragging about how he would win the next day. William watched them go and sauntered off to his home to sleep. He would be refreshed for the race the next day, and he smiled as he drifted off at the prospect of staying with friends. The race. The next day, as the sun rose, Peter came staggering into the starting line as everyone stood waiting. Gillian was there, a bored expression on his slowpoke face. Tell you what, Gillian, you start, and I'll catch up, Peter said, making everyone laugh. Gillian looked to Osmond the owl and nodded. At the sound of the owl's call, he started his trek, slow and steady. He heard Peter make a few comments about stretching and even taking a nap, but he knew that this would indeed be a race to challenge them both. After a few moments, Peter got bored and decided to just humiliate the tourists. He took off, rounding the corners at speed and leaving Gilliam in his dust. It was still early, and he was tearing through the bushes like there was no tomorrow. He was about halfway through the course when he felt a sharp pain in his leg with something sprawling across the ground and into a tree. He was panting and trying not to scream as he looked down and saw an arrow in his leg. The tip went clean through and was barbed so to tear when it was pulled out. And then he heard them. Hunters. Did you see where he went? I know I tagged that little fella. Peter was terrified. He hadn't realized that it was that far into the fall. It was rabbit season. He hobbled closer to the trunk of a tree and tried to cover up with some dirt and leaves. The pain was excruciating, but he got his labored breathing under control. He didn't know how long he lay there, fearing for his own life, but the next thing he heard made his eyes go wide indeed. Hey, look, Henry, a turtle. No, Franz, that's a tortoise. The difference is, oh, God's above, Henry, I don't care what the differences are. He's cute. Look at him go. You ever seen one move like that? Peter couldn't believe it. He thought about making a break for it, but his leg was useless. He had to wait until the hunters left. Hours later, when the forest grew eerily quiet, he made his way along the route and crawled across the finish line. They were already celebrating. Gilliam had won, and even worse, after being looked at by the wise Oswald, was determined that he would lose his foot from the wound that he took. He saw Gilliam coming over to where he was sitting with the owl and knew what was coming. Well, Peterin, it seems I have won. I want you to take a few days and heal up, though, before you have to leave. The tortoise smiled smugly and walked away, knowing that he had gotten the best of the troublesome hare. He had known that the hunters would be hunting rabbits. He had heard them earlier this month at their camp. Peter nodded in defeat. He had been bested by his own arrogance, and after a few days, he did leave, limping away down the trail on the stump of a back leg. The talking animals would stay in their part of the forest, and he would leave to live in the wide world of the humans, disfigured and slow. It was 3 days later that he smelled the smoke and looked for higher ground. He crawled up a high hill, looked back, and saw his old home ablaze, fully engulfed in roaring flames. He would never know that those same hunters left their campfire unattended, and that it sent the flames scouring through the dry branches. Peter hid in the hollows here and there, scrounging for food, and one day he made his way back to see the carnage. Everyone was dead. He left once more, lucky to be alive, though no one ever heard from Peter and Harefoot ever again. It was well known that he was the luckiest rabbit ever to lose a race. The end. Alisana stared at her mother with wide eyes. She could still smell the smoke and hear the tortured animal crawling his way back to his home, only to find them all dead. What? What is the meaning of that story, Mother? What do you mean? Marissa asked. She was often asked this question from the people that heard it, and it was always the same reaction, too. Funny that. Well, the stories that you used to tell me all had some sort of lesson. The princess had this weird feeling that she kind of knew what it meant, but wanted to hear it from her mother. You wanted a grown-up story, didn't you? I guess I did. Well, there you have it. With a look of confusion on her daughter's face, the queen smiled, then tucked her into her sheets and kissed her on the forehead. You see, a grown-up has to learn from their own lessons and take what they can. Did you learn anything from the story? I think I did, and that's all that matters. Good night, son. Good night, Mother. Marissa walked out and started to close the door when her daughter spoke up once more. Mother? Yes, dear. Is that why they call rabbit's feet lucky? One would think that, yes, was the vague answer she gave to her daughter. She took down the torch and closed the door, whistling to herself as she went down the stone hallway. It was times like this she truly missed crisis. And that is that.